Okay, I'm redoing this video again. This is my Wrestling Forgotten Gems number 7, the TV title. But before I get to that, like I said in an earlier video, if there's a video you want me to do, or if there's something bothering you and you want me to talk about it, then feel free to ask me in the comments section or in my inbox, and I'll be willing to explain it or do the video on what you want me to talk about, and I'll try to explain it the best I can. And for some of you who want to play me, who have Xbox Live and are still playing or anything like that, feel free to add me on there. I mean, this, you could see the video 8 videos before this or 9 videos before this, which I make a video about me being on Xbox Live, and I give my username and everything like that. So if you want to play me or add me, then feel free to do that, because I'm on Xbox Live most of the time, and I'm always playing my Xbox 360 most of the time, whether I'm off work or some days when I get off work and I want to play my Xbox 360. I'm always on there most of the time. But let's get to this video. The TV title. This has to be one of the most prestigious titles in wrestling history. I mean, there's the ECW TV title in ECW, then there's the Intercontinental title in the WWE, there's the Hardcore title, the European title, then there's the WCW TV title, then there's the WCW US title, and it goes on and on and on. But there's just one title that sticks out that most people tend to not talk about, and that's where this Wrestling Forgotten Gems about this title comes into play, and it's the TV title. This title is prestigious. Some of the greatest wrestlers who went on to become world heavyweight champions or become big in the wrestling business wound up winning this title, or at least having feuds with this title. Just look at the names of some of the wrestlers on this list that I got on here. You have Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, two guys who feuded over the TV title when they weren't feuding over the world heavyweight title, which were some awesome feuds that they had with the belt, where they traded it back and forth. You had Sting and Great Muta, who also feuded with this belt as well, and they had some good matches with each other involving this belt. Although their match at Starrcade 1989 wasn't really their best match that they had between the two, it was still a okay matchup for what it was. You had Alex Wright, Ravishing Rick Rude, Dusty Rose, Booker T, Fit Finlay, Saturn, Arn Anderson, Renegade, who I'll get to in a minute, Johnny B. Bad, Greg the Hammer Valentine, Ivan Koloff, Ron Bass, Bobby Eaton, Lord Steven Regal, Larry Zbyszko, Paul Orndorff, Lex Luger, Prince Iaukea, Ultimo Dragon, Chris Benoit, Stevie Ray, Conan, Chris Jericho, Steve Austin, Barry Windham, if I haven't mentioned his name, Roddy Piper, who won it in the earlier part of the 80s, Dirty Dick Slater, Scott Hall, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Rick Steiner, and that's pretty much your whole list right there. And when you look at that list, you have some future world heavyweight champions, some guys who went on to become big, and then you have future Hall of Famers on that list who actually went on to win the TV title. If you look at the future Hall of Famers, you have Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, I believe Ivan Koloff, Dusty Rose, and I believe Paul Orndorff. And yeah, so there you go. You got 4, 5, or 6 future Hall of Famers. I forgot to mention Roddy Piper. You got 6 future Hall of Famers who went on to win this belt. And in that earlier part in the 80s, this belt was the stepping stone for most wrestlers, as it was something that most wrestlers would fight for, and then after they would get done fighting or defending this title or losing it, they would go on to the US title, and then eventually they would go on to win the world heavyweight title. So really, this belt was prestigious, and it helped build stars, as most stars will move on to bigger and better things when it came to titles, and that's really what this title did. Also helped establish feuds, as there was a lot of good feuds. As I mentioned, not only was there the Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, and the Sting and Great Muta feud, there was the Chris Benoit and Booker T feud over the TV title, where these two would fight in the best of 7 series, and then before that they were wrestling each other on pay-per-view for the TV title, and good matches. And then Finlay got thrown into the mix, and really this was just a good feud with all 3 men feuding with each other to vie for the TV title, which was just awesome. There was also feuds with Arn Anderson and Johnny B. Bad, which led to Johnny B. Bad finally beating Arn Anderson and winning the TV title. DDP and Johnny B. Bad, I forgot to mention DDP, he won the TV title. Johnny B. Bad and DDP had some good matches, had a good feud over the TV title. Saturn and Disco Inferno, even though I really wasn't too big of a Disco Inferno fan, those two had a good feud over the TV title, with Saturn beating the Disco Inferno and Disco Inferno going through some of the members of the flock and then finally beating Saturn for the title. And you also had the Alex Wright and Chris Jericho feud over the TV title. So this belt not only established stars, but it helped the feud. It made the feud grow intense between the wrestlers who were feuding over the belt, and that's what kind of made this belt so prestigious, and a belt that most people should be talking about, but they tend to not talk about. This belt also had some bad TV champions in the later part of '99. I mean, you had when Scott Hall won it, that's when it kind of went downhill, as he really was not a good wrestler by this point in time of his career, where the alcohol problems and everything else got involved, and it pretty much showed in some of his matches, as some of his matches for this belt were just atrocious. You had the Renegade, who was arguably the worst TV champ of all time, as he was just not a good wrestler. He botched mostly every single every single move he did, he botched it, and he just was not over with the crowd. And I just, to this day, I still can't believe I'm still trying to figure out why the WCW put the TV title on him, because that's pretty much at that point in time where the belt just sort of lost a little bit of its credibility when he won that belt. Rick Steiner won the title, and that's also when the belt lost its credibility even more, because Rick Steiner, as we all know, was not really the best wrestler, and at this time he was all bloated up, so he couldn't move as good as he did back in the 80s and the most part of the 90s, the early part of the 90s, and it was just a sad thing to watch him wrestle with that belt in some bad TV title matches. Stevie Ray was also another one, even though he was defending the belt on his brother's behalf. He had good career. He was good on the mic, but his wrestling skills sucked, and I just don't know why they had him defend the honor of Booker T by putting the belt on him. Just awful. Disco Inferno, was never a big fan of him. I thought he was a terrible TV champion, as he was just so weak, and he lost some of his matches in non-title matches, and that's not good for a TV champ who's supposed to be defending his belt on pay-per-view, only to lose it in non-title matches and lose it to jobbers. Prince Ikea, another one, he was awful in the ring, had some really bad finishing moves, botched some of his moves, and just wasn't over with the crowd. Lex Luger, another TV champion who was awful. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all the bad wrestlers I have, but it did help it did help establish the wrestlers, though, like I said in the early part of the video, as some of the wrestlers went on to go win the World Heavyweight title, like Lex Luger. After he lost the belt, he went on to beat Hollywood Hogan on an episode of Nitro, only to lose it the 4 days later on the next pay-per-view, but still was a big moment right there around that time. But yeah, people tend to forget this belt because of the bad champions and the fact that it wasn't at the same level as the Intercontinental title and other good name titles, but it was still a good title, and it helped set feuds, it helped build stars like Steve Austin, it helped make stars, and most stars are around because of what it is now. Rate, comment, and